Life and business can be easy, but us silly humans love getting in our own way. My name is Nico Rapclis, and I've had a wild journey. From releasing traumas that I held on to for decades, to playing college athletics, working with multi-million-dollar brands, having a spiritual awakening, and now coaching incredible humans navigate their inner and outer world. The Just Grow podcast is my outlet to share and help others with life and business. After investing north of $100,000 into my personal and professional development, the Woo plus Do formula is what has served me best. A healthy combination of mindset, energetics, consciousness, spirituality, self-healing, and discovery, matched with a high-level strategy, principles, focus, optimization, and accountability to help you be, do, and have everything that has been placed in your heart. This podcast is for the impact-driven entrepreneur that is finally ready to start thriving internally and externally. Welcome to Just Grow.
So if you guys don't know already, this is Nico. And Nico is on a journey of using truth and using potential to allow people to fully love themselves and their life. And I witness you on this journey of feeling your fears and experiencing doubts, and then watching you just like those are your roots, these paradigms that we have believed and taken in, to then turning them into this giant vision of a world where we do believe in our full capacity to create. But to bring it back down to me and how I know you, I feel like we do this every time. When did I first meet you?
You said that you came to the first event.
Oh, I met you. Okay, so I came to the first event, but you were famous then. I don't know that I chatted with you there. You're still famous now, but I remember meeting you at Alan and Aaliyah's, and in that state of my life, being in a state of play and curiosity, and I felt so instantly connected to your depth, but also the way that you play and your curiosity. And so I just want to say thank you for the ways that you have invested your energy and your belief in me. And especially a memory that comes up is the first night of my breathwork event and hearing the vision video and just feeling like, number one, sobbing from the vision video and the instant impact, like feeling it on a cellular level to see myself through that lens. And yeah, that was just such a big shift for me. And I want to say thank you for your capacity to see people in their highest and show up in your fullness for so many different people.
Wow, talk about an intro.
Yes, an intro. Okay, anyway.
Thank you.
I feel like
Let me get some of this action.
I feel like I want to start over.
All right, start over.
Okay.
I'm just gonna keep doing this.
Okay, I gotta learn how to be... No, I'm perfect. Okay. Now I'm ready to start.
All right.
Okay. Okay, everyone. This is Nico. And what you should know... What you should know about Nico is that he brings play to full potential.
Yeah.
And that's how I would love to introduce you to my show, Just Grow Vision.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on. And to the final show in this space, which is really special. So I'm curious What is leading edge for you in the concept of this space? Where are you moving next?
Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach. For what purpose?
I get that question so many times. I feel like this is a great idea to film this and talk about this so I can quit having to explain myself. A lot of people would look at it and say, like, why are you leaving? Like, it doesn't quite make sense. But I have to say that, like, I've done my life pretty unconventional. And, you know, I can give you all the logistical reasons. I want to go be with my family. I want to go see my niece grow up a little bit. I don't know. You never know how many more times you have with people that raised you. And I'm just so grateful for my family that I just feel, you know, ever since I moved to Arizona, I didn't really move here because like a job moved me here or there was any real rhyme or rationale. I was just like, I feel called to go to Arizona. And so it's been this duality of living this great life with amazing people out here and getting to experience a beautiful, sunny, warm place with a lot of incredible people. But I always have kind of felt that my family is something that was missing. So that is a big piece, and that's more of the logistical side of things, but I would just kind of parallel that with exactly the reason I moved here. Even at the time, I didn't know, but it was an intuitive decision. Something called me to come here. And obviously, there's so many different things that never would have happened or I would have experienced, or people I met, including yourself, or the hundreds of people that I've come into contact, if not thousands of people here, and the person I've grown into. Like, it never would happen if I didn't just trust that feeling. And so I've been kind of playing with that in my mind. We talked about it on our calls, but like something's kind of telling me that I'm not going to be here much longer. And finally, like, my lease was coming up, and it just like, I remember walking out of the gym one morning and I was just like, I think my time's up.
Yeah, I hear the unconventional. I'm hearing you say the intuitive knowing and the calling. What does that really look like for you? Is it a voice? Is it a vision? How do you know what is the calling and when the time is to listen to it?
The more I trust it and the more I just follow it, the stronger it gets. I wouldn't say it's visual. I wouldn't say it's a voice.
It's a feeling. Put it here.
For their partner.
Feeling.
And the thing I expand on that, because, you know, I think these are all questions that I think a lot of people ask me, and probably even the people that don't ask me are wondering about these questions. Because just from my perspective, I feel like I do have something that's a little unique and different, and maybe what a lot of people desire to have is like this intuitive knowing that I don't know if like everyone taps into that. And I just say, like, the only reason that it continues to be prevalent is that I listen to it. I give myself space and time, and I go on solo trips and I take time for myself. I ask myself questions. But then I just follow it. The more you follow your intuition, the stronger it gets. Because there's so many people, and it's interesting because, you know, with the vision audios and everything we're doing, one of the things I really want to teach people and help people with is, like, yes, it's important to ask yourself those questions and get that clarity and think about that stuff. But, you know, the objection that we still get a lot is like, oh, let me think about that for a little bit. Let me sit on that. Let me really figure out what I want. And it's like, yes, that stuff's important, but get off the fence.
My question that I hear is, you create a lot of space and a lot of inquiry, like questions. What would you say the difference is between the space that you're creating to hear that voice versus the space of let me think about it, or yeah, let me sit on this? What's the difference between those two spaces?
I guess one thing I'm constantly reminded of is, when I went to Utah by myself for a week, and that's not something most people do. They just I had a job at the time, and I just told my boss I'm leaving. I wasn't even asking.
Yeah.
Which might have ended up being the start of the end, but that's a whole nother conversation. It's like you really just gotta trust it. Trust that gut feeling. It's there for a reason. It was put in your heart for a reason. God, universe, whatever you want to, however you perceive it. But it's like that was put in your heart for a reason.
Yeah, I'm hearing that the space that you're taking is heart activating. And when you're connected to your heart and connected to the gut, that's when you experience the gnosis versus the space of thinking about it is the mind. So what is your relationship to your heart? And when did you start this relationship? Have you always been connected to your heart?
No. It's been a journey. I have a little card over there that we can kind of touch on. I think that would be good, because I've mentioned it a few times on this show, on your show here.
Yeah, my show. Thank you. Correction.
It's immediate that what comes up is like, when did your heart open? It was when it got cracked open, when it got broken open.
Yeah, from what?
Breakup.
From a breakup.
Yeah, like my first real breakup. It was tough, and like, to be honest, like self-inflicted too. I broke up with her. We did this dance for like a year, and then she was like, I can't do this anymore. And that felt like I got broken up with, and it just like felt like rejection, which I don't do well with.
Yeah, the rejection piece.
I was gonna say, like, that's when it broke open, and that's when like I started, as painful as that was, it's like there was a locking, a guard on my heart, and until it got shattered open, I wasn't operating from my heart. And I just remember a quote, someone said that, like, if you're lucky, you'll experience heartbreak. And I didn't even agree with it at the time that I heard that. But you think about it all the time, you see how many great stories and journeys that start from a broken heart. Because you get to feel.
Yeah. How did you hold yourself in the heartbreak, in the feeling? I imagine, I can feel this going into like masculine and feminine polarities.
Love that.
And I imagine it's very painful to have a guard up for a length of time, and then to feel everything at once. Where was your grounding? How did you hold yourself?
Great question. I was a mess. I was a mess for probably like 2 months.
What type of thoughts went through your head when you say, like, I was a mess? What were some of the stories you were telling yourself during that time about yourself?
I think it would come back to like a worth conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you experience that rejection, then you're like, oh, I'm not worthy of anything better. And I actually I tried to get back with her. Literally did. And she said no, which was like even more challenging, but also very grateful because it clearly wasn't meant to be. But yeah, and I think that's something really to be said, is like, it's okay to be a mess at times and not be at your best. I think something that has served me a lot is like being okay with like not being great, like trying new things. We talked about it, like, dude, I love swing dancing. It's so much fun, but I was not good at the beginning, and I was okay with that. And I think that's a valuable insight, is like, and I think this always kind of comes back to, we care what other people think, and I'll be the first to say, like, that is something that I'm still gonna continue to still navigate through.
Humanness.
Right, but it's just like, the more that you can practice, that, I think that's what this comes down to, volume. Is like, the more reps you get, the easier stuff gets. The more you tap into your intuition and follow that and go to Utah or go to Arizona or go to the East Coast, the more you can like listen to that and just follow it and go for it, and then just trust yourself, the easier it gets. The more that your heart gets broken open, the stronger it gets. And the more you like, you can really connect with people.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of curiosity.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big piece of, okay, we're in the heartbreak and the feelings of, I'm not worthy or I am rejected. It's like, that's so much more than a thought. It's an entire lens of experiencing the world. And so I'm hearing that the shift was your curiosity of that paradigm. Like, what if I am worthy? And the adventures are that question of getting to play in your, who you are and your potential.
I think that's a really valuable point, that question. Want to take a bow?
Yeah. Yeah.
One for Nekita there.
Yeah, one for me.
Put it up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, seriously.
What if? That doesn't say, because, you know, if we are talking through this lens of, especially when you're not feeling good enough, when you're feeling low, and then someone tells you, oh, look in the mirror and say, I'm amazing, I'm worthy, I'm the best. Your brain's kind of like,
Still looking through the lens.
but you flip it, you change it, and you just say, what if? What if I am amazing? What if I am worthy? What if I am building a company that's going to be worth $100 million? What if?
Yeah. What is your what if? What if you can have it all now? What does that look like for you?
Just truly like operating from that. You know, I think so many times in my journey, I've always felt like, oh, well, once I fill up this room of 100 people, then I'll feel good. Then I'll be enough. But then it's like, oh, well, now it's 200, and it's 300, then it's, you know, the next thing and the next thing. But it's cliche, but cliches are a reason. There's a reason for cliches, because they stand the test of time. They're very truthful cliches. Sometimes they get a bad rap because people are, this is cliche, but it's just like, it's truth.
Yeah.
Right? But you can just make a decision. You can make a choice. I went to a retreat like a month or two ago, and they were defining what some of these terms meant, like beliefs.
Tell me more.
A belief is nothing but a chosen truth, a choice. I used to think like, oh, well, like, what belief do I need to develop so that I can, you know, get the girl, get the money, get the health? Like, there's just like, if we're in agreement that you believe that a belief is a chosen truth, it's just, what do I want to choose to believe?
Yeah, I just heard you take massive ownership of the present moment. Because my expectation around asking your what if was hearing about the next house or the next business venture or the next relationship, and I heard you go straight to presence and choosing in the moment what you want to feel and experience. And so to kind of tie that together, like a potent what if statement, it's like, it was my question and the answer. What if you can have it all now, period?
Yeah, it's the question and the answer. Wow, that's good.
Yeah, making the choice. What do you...
I was going to say this too, because this is something that has constantly been coming to me throughout the years. And you mentioned it briefly there, like the present moment. And how imperative it is to be in the present moment. And I think the one thing that has significantly helped me, because I think it's different for everybody. Some people are more present when they're, I don't know, swimming in the pool or whatever, skydiving, whatever. But the thing for me, without a shadow of a doubt, when I'm the most present is when I'm having a conversation. A really good conversation, talking about real stuff. Like I'm never more present than I am right now. And because of that, that allows me to tap into the present moment more. And what I've noticed through my journey is that all suffering will come from the future or the past. We're dwelling, we're obsessing on something that's not even here yet or something that was long ago. I still catch myself to this day. And I don't think it's ever fully going to go away, but it's like, as much as we can be aware, like, okay, that just snapped us out, like, oh gosh, what is this one thing, this person, the more that we could just snap ourselves back to that present moment and just be mindful and say, like, only thing that exists is right here, the happier and more fulfilled we are. And the more that we stress about the future and the past, like, the more it just creates suffering.
Wow. So this is potent about the conversation and that being your presence point, because I feel like I noticed that's a deep desire for a lot of people to experience the depth of conversation and then experience someone, and allowing someone to experience you in the present moment is deeply intimate. And so there's maybe some people who feel like conversation is their least amount of presence because maybe they experience some walls up. And so I'm curious for you what your experience is with intimacy, with like letting people see you. And I'm sure there is something in your life that catalyzed that for you to allow yourself to be seen in conversation without the fear of, oh, what am I going to say next? Or what will they think? I witnessed that in you where you are just present to the moment. So I'm curious, when was the shift of intimacy? And first, what's your definition of intimacy?
Well, the first word that came up when you're asking that is vulnerability. Because when we're in conversation and you're in your head, you're thinking, oh, what do I say? Whatever the thoughts are, I think it comes from a place of kind of hiding and not being like 100% authentic and truthful. And yeah, I mean, I think I lived that way quite some time until I just decided I was just like, I'm not hiding anymore. Like, yeah, I've got my own deep, dark insecurities and vulnerabilities and traumas, but everyone does. And once I just kind of let go of that, at least best as I could, it's always going to be a process. But I mean, I went all in too, like, shared all my dark stuff in front of a room of 200, like that amplifies things quickly. But I think that also can exist in just a single conversation. That's where it started for me too. Like it's just the courage to take the first step, right? And that kind of even comes back to what we're talking about, is trusting that intuition. Have the courage to like act on that a little intuition. If you see somebody that like draws your attention and you feel drawn towards,
Yeah.
like just take the step and go say hi. It doesn't have to be like this monument, I feel this intuition to build this business, and yeah, that's great, but I'm a big fan of like building momentum.
That was the word that was coming up, was momentum. I'm hearing momentum.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what your comfortability has been in your momentum, your pace, because things happen rather quickly in your life. And how you were sharing about, being vulnerable to 200 people. What was that like for your nervous system to have that quick of momentum in such a short time?
Well, it's crazy too, right? Because it's like, I had one conversation at an event that I didn't think I'd share with anybody. And that was the scariest thing up until that point. And then it was sharing with a group of people, a small group of people, then it was a bigger group of people, and then people that I had relationships with. And then it was just like, it just kept like snowballing and building momentum. And then it's like the courage started building up stronger and stronger. And then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, what's the next scary thing? And I don't know, I also feel like, for me, to a degree, like my whole life, at least the last couple years especially, is like, it's not really about me. And it's not up to me, and it's not me in the driver's seat. Like whatever you believe, God, universe, source, the more that I do my best at like just surrendering and trusting and just saying like, guide me, happens. Because like, I didn't even think we were gonna be having that many people. Like the last party was like 100 people, maybe a little bit more. And then all of a sudden it just doubled in size. And to be honest, I was not ready at all. But then I talked to Joey or Dylan, and I was like, what do you think about this? And from my perspective too, it's not, like I said, not necessarily about me. It's like immediately I thought about that because I was like, how many people can we help? How many people can we impact if we do this? And that's exactly what happened. And I think that is a big thing to know, is that the more that you think about yourself, the more you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm scared. I have fear. The more you think like that, it stays there. But when you take yourself out of it and be like, how can we serve some people? How can we truly help people? And then I just saw direct feedback of that. Every time I shared and opened up about my traumas, like there was always at least somebody saying, thank you. Like you helped me. And it's just like hard to like have that much fear around it anymore when I'm directly helping someone's life in a massive way, and I can see like they're crying in front of me, and like you have no idea how much you drastically shifted my life. And like, I'd have to be like a sociopath to be like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore.
I'm hearing the community piece and how important it is to follow your own intuition, to then have evidence that our lives are much bigger than us.
Yeah.
Because the intuitive pull is so incredible. And almost always there's something so much bigger at play, and it feels amazing to be witness to that and to be of service. And something that a close friend shared recently was, if God is consciousness and we're in conscious community, where is the God in this situation? And I thought that was so powerful. So my curiosity is around some of the essential pieces to you for a community that is catalyzing, a community that makes a big difference. What are some key notes of a thriving conscious community that is bigger than us?
It's, I think there's been a lot of changes and transformation over just even the last 2 years since I started this. And I started it as just a way to like have good conversations, get me out of my head. And it just came from a place of me wanting to do that. And then it was just like, then I wanted to bring cool people together. And then I was just like really just doing my best to be myself. And then we built out this really cool community, and it seemed like everyone's amazing. And then as I start learning more about different places and communities, and just also learning more about communities and people within the communities, and it's not as pure as everyone always thinks it is. Yeah. And I guess I was a little naive to that, but the thing that I will say is just like, the first thing that came to mind when you asked that question is like, be the change that you want to see in the world. And just because like there are other people that have the purest of intentions or aren't the most authentic to who they say they are, that doesn't give you any reason not to be authentic and truthful and just to you. So I think it's just always going to start. If I guess it's the question, if you're wanting to build a community.
Yeah, if you're calling in conscious community, people that can see and witness you and your authenticity, like, what does it take?
Yeah, I'll just kind of like outline the path as I look back on how I did it. But I got very clear on who I was. I got clear on what I value, what's important to me. And I think everything else just started falling into place because of that. And I think also asking yourself, like, why do you want to build this up? So many people ask me, you're talking about community, but I also just kind of relay this to like building a podcast as well, because I get questions from time to time. People are like, how do you get people to come to events, and or just like, how many podcast downloads? And I'm just like, well, why are you building a podcast? Like for me, it was just, I wanted to bring cool people together. I wanted to have great conversations with amazing people. I already loved doing that. And this was just a way, an excuse on how to like actually put more structure to it so that I could do it more often and just set up these containers for these conversations that wouldn't normally happen. And the connections that I built from this is incredible. Like I can't even imagine what would happen if I didn't build this. In all ways, like health, wealth, relationships, intimate relationships. Like, it's crazy all the things that have come from this podcast, the opportunities, the people I've met, the business I started, the community I built. But it all comes from like knowing who you are and knowing why you want to do it. So it's like, if you want to build a community, I guess the blueprint, now I'm just kind of like piecing it together, is like, know who you are and know why you want to do it. And if you're clear on that, and it's not like, all right, I know who I am and now we're good. It's not a like you're always figuring out
momentum.
You're figuring out more on who you are every day. But it starts with like really figuring out what you value. And what I value is connections, communication, relationships, experience. Seems to add up, right?
Yeah. I have a vulnerable ask. So I'm curious, with your intention to bring really incredible people together, how did you navigate being the leader of that, like in your psyche? Did you ever feel or question yourself for your why you were doing it, or feel like, I think I'm on the right track of this question?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been a journey, because it started out very pure. I was like, I just want to do a podcast. I want to bring some cool people together, and then it started turning into more and more, and then all of a sudden, like, all right, now I feel like it's almost a sense of responsibility, right? I'm like, I want to, after that third one, I had 20 people, probably more, waiting to talk to me. Half of them I didn't know who they were. before that night. And they're all coming up to me saying, oh my gosh, changed my life. I'm like, who are you?
Did you start to question your integrity?
Well, it was kind of like two parts, because one, it was like, okay, this isn't just like a little thing anymore. It's like, I feel like I do have a responsibility to like continue and carry this. And I'm very passionate about it. But now I'm like, okay, well, how do we actually do this? And how do we make it bigger and better every time? How do we actually start making some money? Because that's what's going to fund all this. And then it's like, okay, and then the business idea came in. And then they got fired from the job. And then I'm like, shit, this has to work. And then it was almost interesting, because like the next couple events, I was like, well, now this is all about making the business run, and let's make money. And it, you know, to some degree, and again, this is the whole conversation of trusting and letting go. But I've held on tight at times. And that's something I'm always navigating. I'd say it's something I haven't been the best at in the past, but I'm navigating through it. But yeah, I'd say I did kind of like lose the initial intentions from time to time, because I was like, we gotta make money so we can keep this thing going.
Yeah, how did that pressure show up in the momentum?
I remember, I think it was at one of the last events, well, the event that you and I were on stage at. And even one, I was thinking, and then it's really been a journey, because, you know, we had this big uptick, got a lot of people, and then we started putting it in a theater. And then, you know, we even talked about it, like there's quite a bit of a decline. And for a variety of reasons, we could have been a lot smarter, but I mean, that event was like half the amount of people. And that even like stressed me out. I'm like, oh, now we can't get more sales, not more people here. And I remember one person, good friend of mine, he's business partners with one of the guys I interviewed. And he's like, yeah, I can see you're a little stressed here, man. So, yeah. And I think it's also, you know, being okay with that. You know, that's part of the journey. Like, obviously, we'd love to be more just dialed in and, oh, I'm just flowing, everything's good. But it's just like the acceptance of that. Okay, that is what it is. And don't judge myself more and shame and guilt myself more for it, because then that just like drives you further down.
Yeah, because, I mean, witnessing you today, you're very grounded, you're in flow. So what's the shift of when you feel that pressure and something didn't go the way that you wanted it to? How do you tune back to the present moment?
Something that has been very impactful for me, and I've started teaching it to clients, is having your daily non-negotiables. And just having those things that get you to a good place. Like for me, it's doing breath work every morning. It's listening to my vision audio. It's drinking a gallon of water. It's sweating, working out, connecting with people, getting outside. Like all these like things that you just do them every day. That's what keeps me in a good space, getting good sleep. But when you start thinking, and I think it comes from like an ego place, you're like, oh, I figured life out, I'm good, like we got this. And I think entrepreneurs as a whole are like notorious for this. They figure out something that works and then they stop doing it because they think they're smarter.
They made it. Yeah.
Like there was a quote I heard is like, do the things that you know you're supposed to do and don't think that you're smarter than you are.
Yeah.
And those are like things that will just like keep me in a good place. And you know, you're always going to continue to like flow in and out of it. But remembering those things that get you to a good space has been really impactful. And awareness. Like every week, this year has been very transformative, because I made a decision at the beginning of the year that there was just some things that I was shifting and changing. And specifically, I was going to be more courageous. Like, if I wanted, like specifically in dating, like if I saw a girl I want to go talk to, I'm going to go talk to her. Like I let that kind of fear like hold me back for a long time.
Can we talk about the initiation of that?
Yeah.
At Waste Management?
That was like a pivotal day to it as well.
Yeah.
Because I like finally like even just like opened up to certain people like yourself about this challenge that I've had, where it's just like, you know, dating's been okay, but it's just like I don't feel like I've ever like been like super in my masculine of like, see this person, I want to at least go like have a conversation with them. And it's just like, you know, you could go all your life. I could have just constantly gone on dating apps or met through friends of friends, and that's one way to go. But it wasn't even necessarily about dating as much as like going after what I want.
Initiation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was an initiation at Waste Management? Do you remember one?
Yeah. This was like, it was interesting, and you are the pivotal piece to it. Like, I forget what you said. You're like, go talk to that girl. And I was still like, like still having resistance around this whole thing. But it was interesting. I think it really opened my eyes because you're like, go talk to that girl. And I was like, all right. So I just went. And when talking, it was two of them. And I was talking to them. And they were like, how much have you had to drink? And I was like, how much do you think? And for anybody that doesn't know, I don't really drink.
Yeah, we were definitely sober.
Yeah. Probably the only people in the entire place. And it was funny because I was like, why do you think I've been drinking? And she's like, the confidence. And that alone just like gave me a lot of confidence. And again, like, you got to tread lightly there because you don't want to rely on the validation from other people. But it just made me realize, like, yeah, I am taking these actions that prove to myself that I am confident. Like, I avoided those type of interactions for the large part of my life until I just like decided, like, I'm gonna just like keep doing them. And you know, it started like small, at least just like having a few conversations a week, stepping it up a little bit more and more. I mean, I like proposed to a bottle girl one night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Another conversation.
Tell me about the non-negotiables around the initiation, because I remember this.
Yeah.
There was some non-negotiables in the way that you communicated and like a certain amount of people that you would interact.
Yeah, because like here's the other thing I noticed a lot too is like I would every once in a while I'd go on these like, all right, I'm tackling this, but it seemed like it would always fade out. And I think there's a line that you got to draw with things that like cause a lot of fear within you, because you don't want to make it too little, because then that doesn't like actually help you progress that much. But you also don't want to make it too much, because then that overwhelms yourself and then you get stressed out and then you just like abandon ship and stop doing it as a whole. So at the beginning of this year, I was just like, all right, what's like something that I can do that like pushes me enough, but then it doesn't like overwhelm me to be like, oh, I can't do this, whatever, no, it's like I'm done. So for me, it was just like go out during the day and go talk to someone, and then be out at night at least once a week and go talk to somebody, like bare minimum. Just like do that, and that'll start building momentum. And yeah, it was like I felt like I was starting from ground zero too, because then like first time I was going out, I told like McBurney, and I was like, and he's like, all right. He was like holding me accountable, and it was just like going and talking to like this group. It was a bachelorette party in a coffee shop, and I was like, hey, what's up? Just like talking, and it was like so simple, but like that right there just like lit the spark. And then there was something more and more and more, and then just like adding different things, like going swing dancing and like getting more confident going out by myself too. Like that was a big one that was so pivotal, and just like constantly being around people that like I could talk to it about and not like open it up and not feel shame around it, because I think like that's what it was. I was like, I should have this kind of stuff figured out. Why don't I have this stuff figured out by now? Instead, I'm going to go into this hole and not even talk about it. But when I actually started opening up and being vulnerable about it, that's when like the power actually fell into it.
What I love about that is that it doesn't sound that it was about the other person. It was just initiation. And so it wasn't like a specific type of person either. It could be I remember one day we did a check-in and it was like, oh, it was like an old lady at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And that is just so relieving for both parties, because then your presence starts to feel safer, because there's not this gap of like, I only want this one specific thing and that's why it makes me so nervous. I heard you come into a balance of everyone being in their humanness. Like, I'm in my humanness. I don't have this figured out. And so I'm going to take small actions. And within that, making so many cool connections that maybe you wouldn't have even had your eyes open to. Is there any like specific connection that stands out like during that time, whether it ended up they were interested in the podcast or a new friend or anything that stands out from that practice?
Well, I'd love to go back to like the old lady in the grocery store, because that like actually, that was probably like the real spark. Because I think this is important too, is like really like asking why. You know, we talked about this, but like digging deep on like, where does this fear actually come from? And I remember having a conversation with Ryan, and really what it kind of came to was like the vulnerability to like just put myself out there and give someone the opportunity to like quote unquote reject me. That's how I kind of viewed it. Because like really what it came down to, it wasn't necessarily like the perfect person. It was about like me and showing interest in somebody, and them then putting the ball in their court to be like, no, like I don't want to talk to you. And so in the beginning, it wasn't even necessarily about like girls. It was just like going up to someone and just expressing, hey, I wanted to talk to you. And so it was, I had done this it was a really cool little vision board workshop that I got invited to speak at. And then I told myself, because that evening it was a birthday party, Savannah's birthday party, and I told myself that, all right, I'm going in this grocery store, I'm setting a timer for 5 minutes, and if I don't go talk to somebody in 5 minutes, then I don't get to go to the birthday party. And it was like, it was so liberating, because there's an old lady, and I just like came up behind her, I was like, hey. She's like, hi. And I was just like, I don't know why, but I just wanted to say hi. Something like that. And she's like, all right, hi.
Yeah.
All right.
How did it land for her?
I don't know, it's kind of weird, but like,
Yeah.
but like how liberated I felt after that was so incredible. Because then I was like, because I feel like I've gone through that like phase where I like made that commitment to myself several times and like just didn't do it. Like I remember it'd be like when I was traveling in Europe, I was like, all right, I'm out here alone. No one's gonna make fun of me. They see me getting laughed at. Like, and so then I've done that, you know, several times, but I never like followed through. But this time I set something in place and then I followed through. And I just remember that like it just felt like this weight had lifted off me. Like, I'm gonna be good. Like I can do anything. And I think that's really where it starts. And I think it's important, like no matter what it is, whether it's going and talking to people or whatever it is that you're scared of, it's about like just starting. And sometimes it feels like embarrassing to like what level you started at. But it's just like, that's betting on yourself. That's believing in yourself. That's loving yourself. That's having gratitude for yourself. Like those little micro commitments that change the course of your life.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have, like, you know, now 6 months since then, and I feel like I'm a completely different person, and I feel like it was almost that like missing link that I had never had in my life, because I chose courage. Because I believed in myself, and I just said, you know, fuck it, like, this seems stupid, but it's important to me, and it's a big deal for me. And the more that I can just prove to myself that I can do anything, and I can specifically do anything that scares me, and I can push past that fear, like, you can do anything. And you start actually believing that too.
Yeah. I'm feeling there's so much gratitude. So much gratitude coming up. Hearing you talk about these micro commitments and believing in yourself. And I just want to share my gratitude for the ways that you have shifted my life in these micro moments, these tiny, like, just to share one, being at the Mike concert and being in so much joy and just fun, like, and so present. Like, how do we have all of these people around us, hauling all these people in a party bus? You have this magic way of knowing exactly who needs to be in the room for each other and their connection. And something so big shifted in me when you looked at me and asked for me to be on the podcast. And that to you is something, maybe small in your life. And so I just want to acknowledge you for your ability to tune into these moments and to take action on them and to believe in people. And to believe in people because you're present for those moments enough that you believe in a higher power. And it's just incredible to witness the spider web that you have created just by choosing moment to moment who you are going to be, and the way that you have squashed fear. And I also want to honor you in your friendship and the loyalty that you have invested into my vision, in the way that you have really just seen me in so many angles and been a safe friend and a safe mentor. And I think that's something so special about you, is that you are able to be present for both hats, to be a mentor and to be highly influential and to also be a friend. And I think that's just an astounding quality of a leader, because you're aware that it takes everyone knowing their full potential and knowing their why, knowing who they are, to really make a shift. And so I acknowledge you for the ways that you have shown up in the really hard times too for yourself. And like we spoke on, those questions of integrity and the pressure and the responsibility of growing and holding all of that, of what it can mean to other people, and really making it mean something for yourself and for following your heart. And so I know that it's so beautiful for you to get to go home to your family and to experience all of your growth and healing that you have done and are doing, and to be able to give that love to your family and really feel solid in who you are. So I'm grateful for this time capsule of your life in Arizona. I'm grateful for the ways that you have directly impacted and continue to impact me. You come into my awareness often, and I wish you gratitude every time. Like, Nico, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate that you came on the show today.
Well, thank you for all that. I received it fully, and thanks for acknowledging me. I think no matter what kind of path that we're all on, because we're on a similar and a different path at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
I've done my path a little bit differently, but I would say like you and I are on a very similar path too, and anybody listening too, like we're all on similar but different paths. And that's why it's so important to like acknowledge people and make them feel important. And like, I often talk about this. My mom has just been such a strong influence in my life, and you know, she embedded this deep into me early on and just said, remember the golden rule. Like, treat others the way you want to be treated. And I just feel like that has served me so much in this world. And it's just like, I think that's why, like, I keep on saying this, but you know, I know that I constantly have new, cool, amazing people that keep coming into my life, and I just like, I couldn't stop it if I tried. And someone was telling me that the other day, she like, you have some really good people around you, and like, you must have some like really good energy that you're putting out. And you know, I said I appreciate that, and I've like got that type of feedback before, and I do understand that and believe that, and I know like I know what I'm doing. But at the same time, I don't know, I do feel pretty fortunate and blessed. I just, there's something bigger than me that's guiding and supporting me and helping me and bringing amazing people into my life, because it's not just me.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Higher powers at play.
I feel very fortunate, and I feel very blessed. I think it's a combination of like playing by the golden rule, having massive compassion for people and just meeting them where they're at and not judging people, but just being curious about people. So, and I'll just, you know, send it right back to you, because you were definitely very pivotal in this whole journey as well. I mean, just for you, like the simple fact that you saw the vision video, you saw the vision within it, you believed in it, you're like, I want this. And I can't even begin to tell people, like every single person that has seen the power and the vision with this and has voted with their hard-earned money to believe in this, like it does something to you when you have something that you're so passionate about, and someone, you know, it's one thing for someone to say, oh, that's amazing, so cool, awesome, love it, support it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And not that it means that like everybody needs to like become a client, but it is something special when someone like says it with their wallet too. And especially when it's like people that believe in it to the point where it's like it stretches them, which I know it stretched you when you invested in it, but you believed in it that much. And for you to like really do that, and I could feel it and believe it and know that you were serious, it paid huge dividends. And then the fact that you went and you actually did it and you applied it, and then all of a sudden you started creating all this magic, getting clients, starting a business, like that gave me so much confidence. And then that led to the next thing. And so, yeah, and then we got to build a really awesome friendship off of that as well. And so I'm very fortunate to have you in my life. And so I'm sending that gratitude right back, because you're very special and you're really important to me. And I wouldn't be where I am without you.
Thank you.
I think you should grab that card, and we can close off on this.
Okay. Do you want to read it?
You read it.
Okay.
This was, so just to preface this a little bit, maybe you know this, maybe don't, but my coach at Choice gave me that.
Okay. So how long ago was that?
This was, what was it? Like 2 years ago?
2 years ago?
Yeah.
I'm starting to really map when things were happening and what has evolved since then. So if you can tune in to all of the growth that we just spoke about, everything about your journey.
This is it.
This is it.
This is all you need to know.
Yeah. Okay, here we are. Follow your heart. I'm always rewarded when I follow my heart. I trust that the GPS in my heart knows all of the best routes. And when it seems like it's taking too long to get where I want, I know that's because there's some cool, weird stuff to see along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
like
little
totally you.
a heart on a surfboard riding the wave. And I think there's a lot of meaning behind that, because life is a constant wave. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down.
I love it. His umbrella is like closed. It's like we don't really need it. Yeah.
Let me
That's
share one
amazing.
more quote. I think this is important. And this is something that I've been like honestly like living by for a while now.
Okay.
It's a pretty popular quote, but it's really important. If I can remember what it is.
It's all right. We can take some breaths in between. Good pause.
Found it. Okay. And just one last preface to this is like this whole concept of choosing courage. I think it's such a life hack. Like if you really want to have more fulfillment, you want to be happier, choose courage. Because if you don't, you're setting yourself up for a lot of pain. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we consciously give others permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. This was a very embodied, very authentic, and very growth oriented conversation. I'm grateful for your presence. I'm grateful for the presence, just the presence. It's been incredible. And I wish you this embodied presence and growth and trust of exactly where you're meant to be as you move forward and explore Virginia.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for tuning into my show. Peace.